Go.
All right.
All right. Thank you both so much for being here, and Ian for joining us live. We'll see if anybody else hops in, but I have questions prepared. And like I said before, you guys are also welcome to ask questions of each other and me. And um, and so to start off, I did want to do the land acknowledgement, and then I'll introduce you guys, you ladies. And so we are on Treaty 7 territory, a land. And so, in the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge Mokinsis and the traditional Treaty 7 territory and oral practices of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which includes Siksika, Ganai, Piikani, as well as the Stoney Nakoda, Tsuut'ina nations. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, which is Region 3 within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. And finally, we acknowledge all nations, Indigenous and non, who live, work, and play on this land, and who honor and celebrate this territory.
Oh my God, so beautiful.
Thank you. I was like getting really emotional when I was like finding this.
Yeah.
I know there's some people who are very uncomfortable with the land acknowledgements, and I'm like, well, sometimes we have to be uncomfortable. But I think sometimes they feel it's an insincere offering, but I'm like, but it's a part of the culture. So let's honor that and recognize it. So Shaylynn, if you would like to say where you're speaking from.
Okay. Don't mind my daughter in the background. Yeah, so mine isn't as amazing as yours. I've actually never heard someone do it as well as you did. And so I honor you for that. I'm speaking from Treaty 6 territory. I'm located in Larange, Saskatchewan. And I am on the homeland of the Woodland Cree and the Métis. So that's my introduction for today about where I'm speaking from. But I acknowledge my ancestors and my grandmothers, my grandfathers, and all the people who came before me on this land to be here with us in this conversation, wherever you are. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, and so acknowledging our ancestors. I also have Métis ancestry, and me and Shaylynn actually realized that some of our ancestors are from the same place, which is Cumberland House. So I want to honor that we have met again now. I think it's very exciting. Okay, so I wanted to also acknowledge that this is kind of the beginning of the conversation. For us, at least like with Vida Health. I am a physiotherapy resident at Vida Health and Wellness, so I offer services, jumping baby, in like breastfeeding physiotherapy, pelvic health. We like to serve women across the lifespan, but we also serve men and families and everyone. So. And part of why I actually chose two doulas, you two, is because I kind of wanted to start this conversation with culture. And my understanding from interacting with both of you is that you both like love to bridge culture from what I've seen and connect cultures. And so I feel like if we can come from that space of a better understanding of culture, then we can also do a better job for the people and in providing health, because like, you know, anybody of any culture can learn the Western medical model, but if we divorce ourselves from our cultures, then I think there can be those pieces missing. So I think having support people like you is just so special. So thank you for the work that you do. So you too. So Alycia, I actually met here in Calgary and is a wonderful yoga teacher and doula Indigenous birth worker, and like you're writing all the time and like advocating, and she's doing all of this wonderful, amazing work. And I probably cannot even list off all the things that you're doing. And like a mother to 5 children. And however many else in your community, right? Because I know moms are moms to so many people. And then Shaylynn is over in Larange, also an Indigenous birth worker and a community wellness researcher, and also like so active in your community. And you're both like spreading this knowledge around the world, like through things like Instagram and other social media, which it's like those things I think can be used in not a great way, but then there can also be used in such beautiful ways where like we can connect and be able to actually spread like positive messages while shining light on the not so great things so that we can actually change it. So yes, thank you. And so I would love for each of you to kind of introduce a little bit more of like how you approach your work and anything, you know, about yourself that you would like to share kind of as an introduction. Alycia, do you want to start?
Sure. So I gotta practice because I'm new to language, which I know like Shaylynn is not. And I remember when I saw that this was coming up, I was so excited to like meet you or like share space with you because I've just heard really beautiful things about you. So anyways, Tansei, Alycia, Nitzigason, Agua Mistawasis Nihayawak First Nation, Otsinia, Pogo Mokinstis, Calgary, Nawigan Miigwech. So I'm Alycia. I'm from Mistawasis First Nation in Saskatchewan, but I live in Mokinstis, so that's the Blackfoot word for Calgary. I self-identify as a mixed-blooded Cree. I have a lot of bloodlines. So my dad is from Mistawasis. I'm a living descendant of Chief Mistawasis, who was one of the signers of Treaty 6. And then I grew up under a Swedish and Dakota Sioux matriarch, though. So this is mixed-blooded all over. And so I am a mother to 5 hilarious, beautiful, high energy children, including a set of twins. My children are 7 years apart from oldest to youngest. So it's busy. I've decided to hub learn all of them because I don't want them around COVID as much as possible. And then you're right, so I do birth work. So prenatal education, I've collaborated with Tsuut'ina Nation's Health Center, and just as giving and receiving information as a mom of 5 with very different birth stories, and then as a doula. And then I attend births. I love collaborating with 4 Directions midwifery out here, particularly Jessica Swain, who has become a really near and dear friend of mine and a Métis midwife. And then I am in the middle of a lot of sourcing out grants to try and bring doula training for all of Treaty 7. And so full spectrum, and to get like Indigenous breastfeeding counseling up here as well. And then starting out though, creating an elders advisory board for all of Treaty 7. And so we can revitalize a lot of knowledge, because it's like we have Stoney who are Sioux, we have Tsuut'ina who are Dene, we have the Blackfoot Confederacy, we have a lot of urban Indigenous population, which here is a lot of Cree. So it's like trying to respect every like 5 different forms of knowledge while trying to build birth work in Southern Alberta. Like it's a lot, but I think we can do it. We just need some funding. So I'm building some frameworks around that and trying to get funding up and running with some collaborations with actually North Star Milk Bank. So we'll see where that goes. And I write articles, and I write poetry, and I try and be a voice for our people and teach and educate a lot of like cross-cultural connections. I go into my children's school. When they were in school, I would go in a lot. I would always talk about Orange Shirt Day. We talked about residential schools before it was the norm, because I started it when my oldest was in kindergarten, and now she's in grade 10. So I've been doing that. And I was a kindergarten for teacher for years and years and years out at Tsuut'ina Nation before moving into this work. And yeah, and I teach yoga, and that's like prenatal yoga was actually where I started. And then I got my 200 hours in yin, and all of it sort of melts together in everything that I do. So I think this, yeah, I think that's pretty much. Oh, I have a B.Ed. I have a couple of degrees, so I do have a B.Ed. Oh, and I just got accepted into the postpartum healing lodge training for postpartum care in terms of like cultural care. So I think it's Anishinaabe teachings, and I got like a full scholarship. So yeah, so excited. I just found out yesterday. I like applied on Sunday. And I was, yes. So
exciting.
Again, yeah, there's that. And
congratulations.
Thank you. So I was super, like, I just happened to see the post on the birth worker site, and I was like, application in. And you're in. So there's that. And I earned from Doula Canada. Last year, they awarded their first ever scholarship for Indigenous women. And so I applied and I got that. So I'm doing their birthing educator programming right now, so that I'm able to run my own prenatal classes. So the big dream is to make all of this come together and to open up a Indigenous women's wellness and birthing center here in Calgary, to be centrally located with like our own space to actually have like a birthing space, but like a clinic for midwives, for like Vida Health would be able to come in for physiotherapy, for therapy, for a kitchen for food, a home for elders, and a daycare. If you're birthing, like at least there's like a nursery to put your kids there safely. Or like my oldest is like, I'll just volunteer and I'll just babysit all the kids that come in. So you can actually like sit and have a conversation with your midwife. And then, and just that access, if you don't want to go to a hospital, you don't have to, we can do it here for you. But also to be able to buy a plot of land outside of the city, so that we can have like a moon lodge, a sweat lodge, a birthing lodge, our own community garden, and somewhere just to be able to like pick and harvest and have that connection to the land. So that is my big goal to happen in the next like 2 years.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing.
Like,
I'm so honored to be able to like talk to you and hear your dream. Oh my gosh.
All right, so that's me. Like really long.
Thank you so much. Okay, Shaylynn.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alycia, for sharing. I have so much deep connection to the things that you aspire to achieve in your life. It just hit right at home hearing your conversation, hearing your story about your work that you do. And I think it's beautiful and fantastic, and you're growing amazing babies at home while they watch you in every move that you make. And it's so inspiring. And for me, I'll go on and introduce myself, because I am 22. And so to be talking with you wonderful ladies and to be able to learn from you is just truly an honor for me. So anyways, Tanse Egwa Tawao Nito Tatim. That means hello and welcome, friends. So again, Tanse Egwa Tawao Nito Tatim. So that means hello and welcome, friends. Gagastuwe Maskwa Esqueo Nitsiga-san. That is my spirit name, Black Bear Woman. And my Christian name is Shaylynn McAuley. I am 22. I am also a mother of 2 daughters. How we say daughters in our Cree language is Natanis. I have a 5-year-old and an 8-month-old. And my 5-year-old is like, we've been in a whole nother life together or something. We're like great friends. We grew together in this journey. She was the start of this whole journey for me. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always dreamed of delivering a baby. But then I got to experience delivering my own at quite a very young age. I was 17 when I delivered Mia, my daughter. And I was in grade 11, going to high school. Like I did finish hard. I brought her with me to school. You know, I had to run a kilometer to breastfeed her when she went to a daycare. At 3 months old, I had to put her in a daycare because Cookum could no longer look after her. It's quite a long journey to go into that depth of that beginning of the story of being in high school and having a child when all your friends don't have children, right? And so taking on those responsibilities at a very young age, but knowing that I had to going through those things at a young age, I was almost prepared in some way because I had that feeling of delivering babies at a young age, right? Oh, I'm going to deliver a baby and kind of having those, that intuitional feeling of knowing, being a mother and stuff. But anyways, I'm going way off topic. Mia and I, Cookum would look after her when she was born. So she looked after her for 3 months. And we went on this long journey together. But the moss bag is the number one thing that connected me to this journey. Alongside of having my own daughter, yes, but the moss bag was truly a remarkable teaching. My mom had said, you cannot be with a man unless you can make a moss bag, unless you can cook and you can clean and take care of yourself. This is the most important teachings that she gave me. And the moss bag has taken me such a long way in this beginning work of being an Indigenous birth worker. The moss bag connects to the teepee. It connects to the birth and the umbilical cord. It connects to so many different things. But the moss bag is the number one thing that really brought me most connected to this work that I do with women in my community. Being a mother for the second time with my 8-month-old is very interesting. It's different. Having another baby and another baby girl, there's so many more teachings that come with every child. And I'm excited to keep learning and to keep working with women in my community. About my bio, about traditional knowledge in a contemporary world. I'll talk a little bit about that. Do you have any questions so far? Like, how about like my job that I currently do? Do you want to hear more about that? Or should I just keep going along with what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'll ask about your job later because I do think it's important what you're doing.
Okay.
But I would love, because I know that you love talking about like the rites of passage. So I wonder if you could lead us a little bit and then like Alycia, you could hop in on kind of
Yeah,
like
because I
what
find
you're
that
seeing
like
from this side.
even hearing Alicia's story about how in her work that she wants to continue doing and a broader perspective of bringing ceremony back. Like I could see that you want to do that, and I am truly passionate about that because all of these traditional teachings they're going away, right? And that's why I think that learning my language, my culture, practicing prayer, and just living this way that our ancestors used to live, but having a more modern approach to it, and acknowledging how sacred some of the teachings are, and just having that respect for them while you're teaching that through the internet.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of sacred knowledge out there that shouldn't always be posted around too much, you know, and I have that respect for it. But I also kind of wanted to talk about just kind of living on the trap line. That kind of connects to the traditional knowledge and the ceremonies, like the strawberry moon ceremony, when girls go through the rites of passage to go through their moon time. That I want to bring that back so much, like so much. There's such a huge gap in between Indigenous like just ancestral traditional teachings with raising women. You know, the life stages that women go through is completely different from modern day Western worldview. You know what I mean? It's just completely different, and that's where we're having a lack of identity. We're having so many misunderstandings because we're not having that cultural competence in our communities, and that really counterplays with my job as a community wellness worker, a researcher, sorry, to go out in the community and find those key components of what they're doing in their community to bring out that cultural competence, those strong key roles in the community of the elders and the men and the women and the children. I just think that we need to get back to that. But I've talked to Christine before, and I'm kind of like, I go in waves of my stories, and so bear with me.
So do I. I'm like, what were we supposed to be talking about again? I'm like, oh yeah.
I was impressed with how your story flowed, though, because mine's like, okay, we're here, and now we're over here.
I have like 15 more years of life experience on your 16 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Christine, do you want to move us back into
Really good. I love it. I love stories, and I think so much of how and part of this I feel is some of that traditional knowledge of like teaching through story and allowing that to be okay. Like it doesn't have to be so linear of like, okay, now this question and this question. So I love that you guys are sharing your experiences and because like, yes, this topic is Indigenous women's health, but it's like Indigenous families' health and Indigenous people's health, which maybe that's what it should have been called, but kind of at the center of that is, you know, like every one of us is birthed. And as birth workers, that is, I think a beautiful way to like, you know, when we're teaching moms, then they are able to teach their children. And so I think like that, it just keeps going.
It does. Like every little bit that you do, it ripples, like no matter how big or how small it is, it ripples, and it breaks like a lot of intergenerational trauma that a lot of us experience. And but it all helps, like every little bit that we help the storytelling. And so I'm really actually glad that we ended up selecting Moss Bag for our donations, if that really spoke to you, Shaylynn. Like, I know Jessie, and like I just adore that woman so much. And she's one person that I'm just like, how do I get her to every family that I work with? Like, how do we get her into a greater audience so that our ways of knowing and being are normalized? Because she put on a webinar for like Alberta Health Services on the safety of moss bags, and it was well received by like Indigenous nursing and Indigenous staffing and, you know, like a handful of other people. But there was still a pocket full of staunch women, like white women and nurses, who were like, you can bring us all the data, but it's not very like new and it's not well studied, and you can't convince me that these are safe. And like, just to outwardly speak like that is a huge thing. And then in the same set though, I'm like, but you swaddle in hospitals, like swaddling is an accepted norm when there is literally like no difference. Is it because it's cloth and not hide? Is it because there's laces and it's not tucked in? Like there's not like a significant difference, and you're completely dismissing our knowledge and experience of a millennia of raising our children like this. You're at the heart of it saying you don't know how to raise your own children from babies. And then this is what our women have to encounter in hospitals. So this is why I'm like, have a doula at the hospital.
Yeah. Can I, sorry.
Yeah, jump it. No, jump.
I just want to quickly add on to that, because this is something that, like, a lot of the things that you experience and the women that you experience, like, it's going to be different from being an isolated northern community compared to more just where your community is based around, right?
Yeah.
But we're going to have the same kind of challenges as well. Often when we're funded, it's based on our population density rather than our needs.
Yeah.
And that is a sad thing that our province has decided to make funding, like, just throw funding out there to by population, and not, and they ask us, they ask us in health, like, okay, why is the suicide rates skyrocketing? Okay, but then, and then the funding is based around that. I don't know. It's just, that's a health barrier to me.
No, it's immensely. Funding is huge. Like, same thing here. I said we have in BC and Saskatchewan beside us, you have funding to get an Indigenous doula. It's a non-issue. I think it's on on the East Coast as well. I think Manitoba has the same thing. It's a collaborative effort between your provincial health services and whoever sort of sought out the funding. And we can't get that here in Alberta. Like, our current government doesn't particularly support women and is cutting like maternal health and women's reproductive rights health, like just slashing care. So what are my what are my realistic chances of being able to say, hey, you should fund Indigenous doulas? Do they particularly care about Indigenous women? No. Like, and then they go, oh, these are really great initiatives. And yes, it's working to the west and the east of you. Why can't you get it here? Is what I've met from like federal funding. Oh, just go ask Alberta Health Services. Have you met the environment here?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so these are the challenges.
Yep.
That's
despite studies that say, are when you bring a birth worker with you, home birth, hospital birth, it doesn't really matter. Like, your neonatal and your maternal outcomes are significantly higher. Like, we're saying, like, we provide safety and care, and it's proven, but it's apparently not a worthy statistic. So I'm like, okay, so where are your like calls to action for MMIW, for TRC? Why are you not meeting calls to action then? And having a birth worker at a birth is a call to action.
Yeah. On that point, I've been working on a list of resources. So when people are like, where can we find this stuff? They can just go there. They don't have to ask you for your to do the work for you. It's been done. So yeah, and it's by certainly no means exhaustive, but I'm continuing to compile the resources, and I want to keep updating it as we find out more, because I do think that's so important. And I know, like, speaking to the safety piece, like, Shaylynn, you've talked to me about that before too, where like you being there has saved lives. Right?
There's so much systemic racism and neglect of our women in and out of hospitals. That's why our women are scared to go to prenatals.
Yeah.
They won't go, and then they get yelled at and ridiculed and manipulated of why they didn't attend, and it's because of that kind of behavior, you know, that coming out like that. Like, and our women, they knew what to do back in the day, you know, and some of our Native women are trying to find that intuitional motherhood, you know, I know what I'm doing with my body. I know how to grow this baby. But then there's some of our women who are very undereducated and are abusing drugs and alcohol still while pregnant, right? So there's the finding, like, where are our aunties and our grandmothers that are willing to support, and like it's different for me being in Larange in this northern community compared to where Alycia is, and like there's absolutely no one here that like that I know of that is an older auntie role model to me that can teach me Indigenous birth work and midwifery, you know, like those women have passed on. We have to go and find in communities, in northern communities in the east and the west, where these women's families are, and if they still carry this on, these gifts, these traditions. There's a few young women in my community that are working as doulas and that are aspiring midwives, but we need to work together. It's not a competition. We all need to support one another.
This is also huge. I have found a lot of lateral violence within the birth working realm. Like, some people want to have like the best idea and the most funding, and they want like their company or their like whatever their name is attached to like every project that's Indigenous based. And I'm like, why can't we honestly just support each other? We have so much shit to deal with. We don't need to deal with it with each other. Like, honestly. So with our me and Jess in talking about this for our doula collectives, to teach them essentially how to run it like a midwifery clinic. So you would work in groups of 3 and teach them how like you divvy up contracts in terms of like who attended, who meets with clients, and then who is actually at the birth. And then figuring out a schedule of like, hey, I'll be on call this week, which means somebody has to do the prenatal classes this week, and somebody has to do the breastfeeding circles that we're going to, and the parenting circles that we're going to do this week. And then you have a week off, like, and then that way you're preventing burnout, you're building collaborative skills. You're like, we need to build this sisterhood love and the lateral love like nobody's business. Like, I don't have time to hate other Indigenous women. I really don't. And if you are doing something that you are passionate about, you are driven, like, I honestly come from the teaching that if what you are doing is out of like the very depth of the goodness of your heart, nothing bad is ever going to come to your idea or you or the ripples that you are making in your community. So, but this has to also be like almost like explicitly taught. And then as a birth worker, like, you know, like when we come into a birth, you have to leave your traumas at the door. Like, you are there for this baby who has not even come earthside yet, is still connected to the stars and the ancestors. You have to be there for a mama who can be very scared, be dealing with a separation from a partner, or on the other hand, like have this amazing partner and just build that bond in this like journey of birthing together, which is like the most beautiful thing to ever witness. And so this is where I'm like, you need, as a birth worker, to seek out therapy. You need to seek out ceremony. You need to seek out women who are going to encourage and love and support you when you come home from a birth that went completely sideways and you want nothing to do but to cry about like how everything didn't go at all the way that you were anticipating. And at the same time, we'll always like celebrate you every single time. And I just like saw a quote that said like, always surround yourself with women who would drop your name at every opportunity. And I'm like, that's like, this is what we need to be fostering. And it's just like, birth work is a small community, like it's really small. So if you're building in these frameworks and you're building in this community, like I really, like all I can do is ask you is to do all your inner healing, because you deserve that 100%. Any healing that you can seek is for yourself and you deserve it. And there's a part of you that will always intuitively know how to do this, because I'm a big supporter and believer in like the medicine we hold is always within us. Everything we need to heal is within us. We seek ceremony and we seek elders to get it drawn out of us. You don't need it. Like, but man, it sure helps.
The community, like there's the self-care and there's the community care, and we need both.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, there's we in wellness.
Oh, yes. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that is such an important message, and I hope anybody who is on the call tonight or watching this later, like really like rewind and listen to that again.
Yeah.
You got the recording, rewind, listen to that again. I try to think even to like where to go from that. Let me look at my notes.
I'm just reading the comments. Sorry. Yeah. So what do I do to leave my trauma at the door? So this is a skill I've been practicing for actually a really long time, because same thing as a kindergarten teacher, same thing as a yoga teacher, same time like I go into my kids' school and I have to talk about Orange Shirt Day. I have to talk about like my own personal stories of family members that went to residential schools, and then intergenerational trauma. And then I have a history of domestic violence with my children's father. So I come with like a lot of life experience and a lot of knowledge, but it isn't always necessary to bring up. Like what I walk into is not always about me. It's never about me. And so I just remember that. And it's like, I will smudge before I go. I lay tobacco before I go attend a birth on my way out of my own house. And then that way, when I get to their doorway, like it's that big inhale in and it's that big inhale out, knock on the door, and like birth worker like just comes. And it's not fake. It's not like I'm throwing a smile on my face or anything like that. It's like I am here and I am present, and I'm just going to bring my energy and shift it into the room. And I know like I am really good at like peaceful vibes, lowering energy, like make sure the room stays dark. You don't have music. I got like 600 yoga playlists for you. So, and then I'm like, like, let's make a plate for the ancestors. Let's let them welcome baby over here, because they're still connected to our ancestors. And it's also time for like them to let baby go out of the stars and to let them sing baby away on their side as well, while we sing and welcome baby our side. And so I will smudge. If you have medicines that you prefer to smudge with, like let's light those up. Like I come with like a whole tin. Like I'm like, let's just we will leave a window open and hope your fire alarm doesn't go off at home. But we will keep that going. And same thing, like, and it's also welcoming in the aunties, welcoming your grandmothers, because they have all done this before. So let them give you that strength that maybe they didn't feel that they had in their own births, because a lot of our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, our great aunties would have had like twilight births in hospitals, and they never got to experience birthing a ceremony. They got to experience being knocked out by gas, waking up and here's a baby, or on the completely other hand, like being left alone in a room by themselves with nobody. And I mean, you can go deep into yourself and into that ceremonial mindset. But if you didn't grow up with it, if you grew up in residential schools, you grew up cultureless, you don't even have that to shift back onto. So now you have like DNA, you have the ancestors behind you, and that's what you got to hold on to. So this is where I encourage, like, so when I say like bringing in cultural care and competency, like this is what I do. I often will close before they birth their placenta. If we have the chance in between baby and placenta, like close out with the Women's Warrior song, just to remind them, like, this is what you are. And now let's birth this placenta and let's bring the ceremony to close.
That's so beautiful.
That was so beautiful. Oh my goodness. And I just totally connect with your words. Like, when you're like saying like how you go and you knock on their door and then all of a sudden it's just like the birth mama, you know, like the birth mom is there and then you are just this woman helper, you know, like your whole mindset, your whole heart, your spirit, you're wearing this like this big beam of light and you're going in with goodness, you know, and I don't know, I just connected with your explanation and I loved it.
Like, if you know, like, you know.
Yeah. So Ian had a question.
I think he had a question for me on just like just reassuring like how I got into my birth work. I'm just going to quickly touch base with you that this is still a process for me because I got offered a new job as a community wellness researcher. I had to really prioritize that because it's a 60-day pilot project, this job that I'm working. And so I really prefer to give it my all in a job that I'm required to do. And then I'll go back to my work working with women. It's something I started off on my own. So I just picked up a book and it was almost like a whisper in my ear ever since I delivered Mia 5 years ago. Can't believe she's 5. But it started with like a whisper. It kept coming to me and it was like, you gotta do this. And it was like, you're gonna be a doula and just whispering. And so I was like, oh gosh, I have to do it. I have to do it. And these women kept coming to me and asking me questions. And I thought, I'm gonna do it. So I picked up a book. I had already read it before. It's called Life Stages in Native Women. And it's on my Instagram page. I think I had made a post about the book. But I had looked at it and I said, okay, I'm going to read this again. And those women are from my area, my community. And so I had to take that understanding of the book, all those teachings in the book, and I had to utilize them in my own life. And really, like, I've been utilizing culture my whole life because I've been trying to find and seek my identity and my true purpose and following my achak right here, my intuition, my spirit, what I love to do. And that kind of, it worked its way up in all these different ways. But Indigenous birth worker is the name I kind of gave myself. How I say it in my language is Iskweo Awiche Hawewak. That means woman helper. And I'm still learning of how to be a woman helper, but it's come very natural to me to support women and to open up my heart and to just listen and be present and to validate them, make them feel worthy, protected, and to remind them how sacred they are and how we all have this gift and we're meant to be here to teach one another and to support one another. And no matter where we come from, we all come from the same place, and and we've all learned different things in our life, and I'm really extremely passionate about supporting women whatever way, not even just specifically with birth work. I work with a lot of young people with mental health and suicide, preventing suicide, and it's mainly we're just interventing all the time because people's lives are at risk everywhere. But I have a lot of big dreams that I share closely with Alycia and her story of her dream. I've always wanted to bring Indigenous birth work back to my community and to create this ripple effect of women supporting women. And there's this word in Cree, it's called Sitoskatuin Oskayak. And that means the youth supporting the youth. That's like literally Sitoskatuin is like holding somebody up, like legitly holding them up and like you got this, I got you. You know, that's what it kind of means. And so that's a word that I carry with me to encourage my people in our language. And I really strongly believe that language is a key component into bringing our culture back into being culturally competent, because culturally competence it encompasses, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, it's really being aware of one's own worldview. Yeah. And developing respect and humility and having a positive attitude towards cultural diversity and differences. And it's about knowledge exchange. And it's about listening and learning and gaining that knowledge of different cultural practices and worldviews and all the lifestyles and choices that people make. The reason why I want to reach out to people in my language, in the Cree language, is because the discussions are not happening enough in person. Mm-hmm. And everybody's on the phone. Social media it's a great way to knowledge exchange to an extent, right? But sharing a language online is just a great way to learn and to reach out to the silent needs and wants of people, because there are a lot of people who want to learn the language. There are a lot of people that want to learn but are not seeing that content where they're spending most of their time. So Instagram, that is a weird, like, it's not weird anymore because more people are doing it, but it's kind of just a very different place to share language, like how Instagram was created mainly for certain things back in the day, like fashion or just really lame things. But now we can connect to different people we want to follow. And so I really want to put out our language out there because I follow a lot of young people, and I connect with other people who are learning their language, and it encourages me. And so that's why I choose to use my language in what I do. And this Indigenous birth work that I do is a journey and process, and I'm trusting this process. And I'm at pause right now, but I'm learning with you right now too. And I'm so happy to share all the things that I can, and to be your friends after this, and to keep learning and to do these things. This question and answer, this is my first one ever in my life. I've done webinars, but I haven't been the webinar. So, you know,
you have many more to come.
It's weird when you're like, wait, like I'm a professional with answers. If you think so, then sure. And I think you're so on track with language. Like I'm just learning, right? And was able, I think it was U of R that put out the free language course, and it's on SoundCloud to listen to it. You can download the books for free. So that's what I'm doing, like just sitting at the table. And I had tried to do another program, and it was like intensive. And I just no, I learn like a baby. Like, please talk to me like I am 6 months old, and you need to babble and you need to cue at me. Like, this is my learning pace. I've tried to do 7 different languages, and I have enough difficulty with English. So,
oh my God, you know 7 different languages?
Well, so I took French. Like, you had to take French as a kid, right? Up to grade 6. So I think I took it up to grade 9, and then I took Spanish from grade 10, 11, 12. I took Italian in high school. When I was really young, I tried to teach myself Cree from this orange book I got from the library. And then I had to obviously learn how to speak Tsuut'ina, teaching out there, and I wanted to encourage it. So lots of phrases, and then you have Blackfoot friends. So picking up Blackfoot languages, and Yeah. So it's just like, and then I'm like,
Oh
oh,
my
well, I
God.
think I know, like that is like you just start to recognize different dialects from around the world and through food and
Exactly. Yes.
yeah.
Wow, you're awesome. I know how to say I love you in 6 different languages, and that's something I always wanted to do, and so I can do that. But I get you when you say that you can learn easier and faster and better. I want to share a quick couple resources. This book is the best, 100 Days of Cree.
Ooh.
Awesome.
I can't. It's Neil McLeod.
Okay.
That is a really good book. It talks about Calgary in it, I'm pretty sure, Edmonton, all of the different nations and territories. It tells like the word of like the original word of, because I know like in when the colonizers came, they took names away. So yeah, like it tells like it talks about like kinship, the character and knowledge of the Crees. Like I don't know, there's just different things. It's a really good one. And then I have these dictionaries. It's just the volume 1 and 2, English to Cree, Cree to English.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, this is by Eric Wolvengray. I'm not really that great, but okay. Yes,
I'll
those
get
are
the
my
names from you. I'll get them from you.
Those are good resources. And I think it's important if you like Ian are in the medical realm and you look into these resources and you are working within the Indigenous population who are trying to reclaim their language, trying to reclaim their culture. These are the resources that they're going to be using. So why not make yourself familiar with them as well? That way you can be like, oh, yes, I did read that kinship tie. Like, I mean, I'm just understanding like that importance of aunties or grandmothers or uncles and grandparents in your life and realizing that they're just as important as like biological moms and dads and that they deserve that respect when you encounter them, whether it be under patient client, but as a birth worker, like that they have come, they brought their aunt and she needs to be as just respected as like a mom would be.
yes.
And without looking over them or being like, no, I asked her, the actual client, when she's going to default to her auntie anyways. Like she could be nervous, she could be scared, and whatever her aunties say, like that could be what she wants and what she believes, and had like told her auntie, like, can you tell them that, because they're not even listening to me.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Oh, Betty Bastien is amazing.
Yeah, Cree covers quite a large area, but there's so many groups. So many groups. And then even because Shaylynn, when we were talking, you were talking about how like there's like the different dialects even of Cree.
Yeah.
And there's the Michif, the Cree, and the French. That's our people. The Métis people would speak that more on the Isle of Cross, Pine House, more on like the west side and the east side too, maybe. But yeah, there's the N dialect, more swampy Cree. There's the TH where you would find us in the woodlands. And then there's the Y on the west side again.
Yeah, like that's what I'm learning. Y dialect.
Yeah, I like Y. I encourage you to speak Y. I miss it. The people in the community are like, sorry?
I speak it to my kids as puppy.
Oh. Yeah, the people encourage, the elders really encourage the TH dialect within our community. They understand it more, and so, but it's a lot of.
Shaylynn, Ian is asking, is Larange very remote?
So Larange is quite isolated. Lac Larange Indian Band is my band where I come from. They have 6 different communities surrounding us. There's Hall Lake, Little Red, Sucker River, GMB, Stanley Mission, and Larange. Just the reservations within larange. So we have like Big Stone, Far Reserve, Bellows Point. There's just little tiny reses inside a big res. But anyways, and then within larange, it's called Lac Larange. When you come into our community, it's called Lac Larange, but it's a tri-community. So it's very different. There's Air Range when you first drive in, and then you drive about a kilometer more down the highway, and then there's Larange. And then the third community is the band. So it's a tri-community based function. Really hoping that my band can create more self-governance, be more self-sufficient, but really creating that partnership with the other communities. So Larange and Arange being the other two communities within our tri community, I feel like we need to have more partnerships so that our businesses can prosper, Indigenous people can prosper, and we can have employment and education and just those opportunities that other people within the community can get, because we're very segregated. Like there's their ranch. Oh, they're having a party. We're not invited though. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's we're very segregated tri community, but we're a great community. We help each other in times of stress, and we try to work together. It's just we're getting through that intergenerational trauma. We're getting through a lot of the things that have happened traumatically to our people. So just creating that community wellness again, and understanding each other. We need to get back to our values and really understand the teepee again.
Yeah. And I think that's so, like, I really think it's important. And I come from women-based ceremony, but my elder was Two-Spirit. So all my teachings are Cree and Two-Spirit, and she was Mohawk, and she was Métis. So when you were saying, like, we need to, like, the strawberry moon ceremony, like, that would be very Mohawk. It's strawberry medicine would be my initial intuitive guess. And I just wish, like, we had more of this, and then also more not like room, maybe it is room, but like we need safe place too for like our Two-Spirit youth.
Within ceremony speaking? Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because I find it, like, even as an adult, so after my elder passed away, I found her lodge, like her daughter is my best friend. So it was like a double whammy. You know, she was the first of our mothers to pass away. She had cancer. And then it was also my ceremonial elder. And I had never been to anybody's lodge before. It had always been a safe place. I'd always been surrounded by these like hearty, laughing women who were Two-Spirit. I didn't have to wear a skirt if I didn't want to. I could sit wherever in the lodge I wanted to. Like, whatever your identity was your identity. And it wasn't up to her to dictate what it was for you. And so, like, one of my like favorite, I'd like have this very distinct memory of her. And we were having like a pipe ceremony. And she's like, so the traditional thing to say with this is like, it's balanced. There's a pipe and like there's a stem, and you put them together and that balances out. And she's like, but when you're Two-Spirit, sometimes there's two stems, sometimes there's two ends, and anyways, it just fits how it's supposed to fit. So, but I was like, so after going to other people's lodges, I was like, I don't want to out myself. I don't want to have to say, where do the Two-Spirits sit as soon as you walk in? Like, where's your skirt? You have to sit on the women's side. Your shoulders have to be covered. And I was like, I don't ever want to be perceived as being disrespectful or rude to another elder. Like, I will follow your protocols because these are your teachings and your dreams. And no, I don't think anybody can tell an elder that they receive their guidance from Creator wrong, ever. But when my personal safety is at risk, then it's no longer safe.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate, like I'm able to drive myself out to lodges. So if I can perceive that I am not wanted there, at least I can pack up my kids and leave. And that's not always an option to our youth who A, don't even drive, and now B, are like potentially stuck out in the snow somewhere while everybody else enjoys ceremony. And so it's so I'm finding that balance of wanting to really find women-based ceremony that is so forgiving and loving in like really matriarchal ways. And then I think I have to also balance that out with like Two Spirit ceremony and not like, and supporting that resurgence and being like, if you don't feel comfortable in this lodge, we have another one for you.
Yes.
But, and I think you are so blessed to have the love of language flow through you, because our language came from the land. Like our songs come from the birds, our language comes from the land, our creation stories come from the stars and the earth, and you have that connection, and that is such a gift. And you are so young in terms of like physical years, but you radiate from your center, like completely radiate when you talk about what you do. And I think that you are such a gift. So don't ever stop what it is, what you're doing. If you're ever in a troublesome time, it feels overwhelming, it feels hard, you are doing an amazing job, and you have 2 little girls to carry on this work.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh, I just want to cry. Thank you so much. Ginanaska midnan.
Yeah, so I think like we need the youth. Like the youth are giving me such hope. I feel like this old lady, but the youth like you are going to make, like there's been so many people ahead of us who have been laying some foundations, but I feel like a huge like fucking shift is coming, like immensely. And it is the youth who are driving this. They're like, you can't treat us like this in hospitals. You can't treat us like this. You have to stop separating our families starting at newborns. You don't get to take us away as youth anymore. We are like demanding that our people be taken care of. Like, and I think as a collective whole, people are now starting to understand like what unceded territory means, what treaty rights are. And it's not just something that it's us, like, no, you have the privilege of existing on our land because of these treaties, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So
you're only beneficiaries, you know, like you're only going to benefit from this.
You get to benefit from this immensely. So hopefully in terms of like our health, and I'm always like, you know, like suicide rates, addictions, all stem from trauma, all stem from colonization. This is nothing new. Grief, we never get a break from grief.
Yeah.
Ever. Like ever. So we need, in terms of like healthcare systems that don't particularly embrace us, or even our traditional ways, they have to start giving. And there has to be some compassion, and there has to be some care, and like you have to deal with your own racism before you get to even consider ways of taking care of our people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. I'm going to revert to the question here. How does access to your care work? So I am not partnered with anybody yet. That is a goal that I'm working towards. I'm getting some little business cards prepared so that I can hand them out to people in my community and say, you know, this is a personal nonprofit business that I have created out of my whole heart and soul. I will support you in your journey. and your partner, or if you have no one, because mainly there are a lot of unplanned pregnancies within Larange. A lot of young women having babies to keep their relationships going mostly a lot of the stories are around, you know, just abandonment, a lot of trauma. Like there's a lot of trauma. And so a lot of the trauma that we carry, we're making our decisions based on that, how we're feeling from that, mainly most of the time, because we're not dealing with it. And so a lot of our women are creating these relationships that it's just very intergenerational, like it's a cycle. And then that is why the people on the outside are saying, let's sterilize these women, you know, and let's neglect them, let's manipulate them, you know, let's try and put them out on the table because they don't look like they know anything about what we use, you know. And so that's why I've really put my foot down and to taking the education on my own. And so when I go into that room, I know what they're talking about, you know, and I'm not her voice, but I'm her listener, and I'm going to use my voice for her if she can't talk, you know. And she has a voice, though. Every woman has a voice. It's about listening. Nobody listens anymore. And so we need to amplify these women's voice. And I have a strong voice. I know that, but it took me a long time to get here, and I'm still working on it. These kind of situations, they make me be indecisive about my leadership traits. I'm very indecisive person. I'm like, are you sure you can do it? Are you sure you can do it? Oh, and then I just do it. You know, I'm like, come on, you're getting out of your comfort zone. You got this, you know? And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm learning on my own. I'm connecting with the clinics. I'm going to be going to the clinics and saying, yes, you're a nurse, or yes, you're a maternal health worker, but I'm an Indigenous birth worker. This is my card. Give them the choice. You know, that's what I really want to do, because we need to create that partnership. And so to answer my question, there it is. I'm doing the work on my own.
This is how I always feel.
Like, he said, maybe I can help. This is a man, right? This is a man, or okay. Maybe. Hi, Ian. Maybe I can help in the future. Of course.
Oh, so amazing. Thank you for all of your questions, Ian. This has been fantastic. His hope is to practice in rural and remote and northern communities. So important.
Yes.
So important. I do want to give, I want to respect your time and like recognize you both also have children and other lives. And so I want to thank you so much. Are there any final questions or final thoughts that you guys would like to put out there before I close? Thanks.
Sorry, I should have just said that out loud. Ian, I'm so thankful for your gratitude, and I'm Alycia. You're such a humble, beautiful woman, and I'm so honored to be able to have met you. I'm pretty sure you're famous to people, and so I feel great to be able to have talked to you. And Christine, this just couldn't have happened without your hard work and all your efforts. And you continue your hard work, and you're an amazing artist. You're super unique. And I'm just very excited to be able to continue our friendship and this relationship. And may Creator bless you all.
Thank you. So thank you, Christine, for this. This was amazing. And I'm also really proud of you for hosting this event, because it's not in your comfort zone, and you're not going to grow or do anything if you don't leave it. So we were meant to meet in that one yoga class.
So random.
Real I don't even teach there anymore. So but this was amazing. And Shaylynn, I just feel so blessed to be able to have met you. And again, share this space, and you're doing amazing things, and really like just keep shining that inner light, and really honestly trust yourself.
Okay.
Just yep. You'll do good. You'll do good, kid.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you both so much, and everyone who is here and watching the recording. I hope everybody makes it all the way through, because like I need to re-listen to this.
Yes.
For sure, like over and over again.
We're sharing this, right? We're going to share this?
Yes, it'll be on YouTube. It can just be freely shared, and we're going to have in there, like, if people want, like we will ask that if they are watching this to please donate to the Moss Bay Project, to continue that education. And I think I need to bring her on.
You do.
Have her talk about her project
with Jessie. Do it. Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, this is only the beginning of the conversation here, because I know there's so many people doing amazing work in the community, all over Canada and around the world. And as much as I know that there are so many like issues and gaps and concerns, but it is really people like you who just show that there is hope, and there are people doing the work and working so hard. So thank you for all that you do.
Just to like quickly add on something that was a question in our little agenda there, the question was, what education is most needed in Indigenous communities, right? That was the question. Yeah. We literally have it all right here. Like, and I love reverting back to the quote that Alycia had said. I actually had made this quote in 2014 when my youth role modeling journey kind of starts, and it was, trust yourself, everything you need is within you, and you can always get back on the right path. And I'm mind blowing that Alycia had that same quote in her heart, and I'm like, what? Like I thought I had made that. But anyways, I have been following that since 2014, and that is so true. Like, we have everything within us, right? And we literally have everything that we need to fulfill our people in our communities. It's deep within the roots, man. We got to dig it up and really connect with our people, and this is something like that our people need to do more of. But I just wanted to add on to that, because it's really important. But I really strongly hope that midwifery and sacred birthing practices come back to our women, all of our sisters all over Turtle Island. I really hope that we can start making calendars of the 13 moons again, and understanding when to pick medicines, when to have sex. I'm just kidding. That wasn't really in the joke, but just understanding ourselves and our lifestyles. I just love it. Okay, but yeah.
Right. I write about sex all the time. 98% of my poetry is about sex.
And it's great. It's great poetry.
Thank you.
Awesome. But Alycia, I'm going to touch base with you about the LGBTQ2S, and I'm going to talk to you about placenta, stem cells, delayed cord clamping. I have a lot of questions I want to touch base with you on within my practice, and just to continue learning. Yeah. I really feel like I can learn from you, and I've been trying to connect with clan mothers all over the world. And so thank you again. That's everything I'm going to share.
We're really ending.
Yes.
Cut me cheese off.
Okay. All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you for trusting this non-linear process, because this is what I wanted. And I hope people get everything they need from this, and to trust themselves. That's the lesson, right? Yeah. Trust themselves. Okay. Thank you so, so much. We will put out all the details so people can find find you wherever you are on the internet and where you ever are on the land. We'll have all of that in there. So you can expect that in the next few days for sure. Okay. Thank you so, so much. Have a lovely evening. And I'll see you soon.
Yes, we'll see you all soon. Take care. Muestas.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.